Namaskar. I am your course instructor Shubhra Sinha and we are learning the fourth module of the stress management course. This is lecture 2 discussing about the problems of students studying in secondary and higher secondary schools. Let us have a quick recap of what we are going to study in this particular lecture. We will again talk about the definition of scholastic stress, causes of scholastic stress, their effects on different domains of the student's life including physical, mental, behavioral and social relationships. Finally, we would like to have a glance over managing scholastic stress in such students. Friends, you may find some features common with what we have studied in our previous lecture while discussing about the scholastic stress in primary education. This is very obvious. See, schooling is a continuous process and nothing changes abruptly. All the factors which can be there in primary schooling can also be there as significant stressors in secondary or higher secondary schooling, but their importance may change. Why I said this? See, as children become more and more independent, the personal factors associated with them increases in importance a little bit, whereas the factors which come from the environment or their parents or their teachers, although they are still very important, but their importance may change. Parental involvement or parents sitting at the side of the child when he or she does the homework is very important for a child studying in class 1, but it may not be that important for a student of class 10th. This is why I said that basic stressors may be the same, their proportion in terms of importance and significance can change. Moreover, as we have been discussing repeatedly, that every stage of schooling is unique in itself, so definitely it incorporates some unique challenges which we are going to see later in this lecture. So first of all, let us have a quick review of the scholastic stress in the secondary or higher secondary schooling. It refers to the physiological and psychological experiences by high school and intermediate students in response to the demands related to their academic pursuits that they perceive as taxing or exceeding their available resources. Let us have a more sincere look at this definition. What the author wants to say here? The very first thing is that every student perceive some of their academic pursuits as taxing, whereas others can be very common. So academic pursuits are there and some of them can be perceived as taxing or even exceeding their available resources. Now what are the resources here? The resources are basically the perceived learning abilities, the learning abilities of oneself, perception about those abilities which a child, a student has. Every student has a self concept, you know. Some of them perceive them as good students, which is capable of securing good grades, which is capable to outperform other students in the classroom, and if something wrong happens, it may be a chance factor, it may be a consequence of something which has happened once, but definitely not a regular practice. On the other hand, other students may not be so confident about their academic skills. They are constantly doubting themselves, they are constantly worrying about how to accommodate the demands of increasing syllabus and the increasing difficulty level of their syllabus. These are basically the academic or the available resources. If I find the academic pursuits easier as compared to the resources that I have, the abilities that I have, I am not going to feel stressed. But if I think that this syllabus is not my cup of tea, this is simply beyond the abilities that I have, the skills that I have, or the skills that I can acquire, it is definitely going to be perceived as taxing. If I find something as taxing or increasing the demand or increasing the available resources, what will happen? There will be certain responses from my body and my mind. These are called the physiological and psychological responses. Do you remember we have talked a lot about such kind of responses in our second modules. We discussed about different physiological pathways through which stress moderates our bodily functions. At the same time, we also discussed a lot about the psychological consequences of stress. So, all these things can happen in the life of the students as well. This definition is more relevant for the students of secondary and higher secondary school because their intellectual capacity is now grown up. They are mature enough to assess the requirements of the syllabus, the requirements of the school and the available capacities to cope with them. Whereas this was not the case with young children studying at primary level. Therefore, there is a bit different in the definition of the scholastic stress which I have presented in these two lectures. Moving ahead, there can be different kind of academic pressure. For example, high parental and social expectation. You know, when you are very young, you are studying in UKG or LKG or class 1 or 2, neither your family members nor your relatives nor your neighbor, they care for your grades. They are simply happy if you have done anything good in your classroom. But as we grow up, not only our parents start expecting a lot from us, but our relatives, our neighbors or the society as a whole start inquiring about our grades. They start comparing our grades with the grades obtained by other children. So, along with parental expectations, now the students have to deal with the societal expectations also. When a child enters class 9th, most of them become aware of the fact that now they have to go through several competitive examinations for securing their seat in professional courses or in higher education. So, they start preparing for their future outcomes as well. Many of them get admission in different coaching centers, they get enrolled in various fundamental courses for medical or engineering and things like that start happening. So, if they are not completely engaged up to the level of class 10, they are very much conscious about this fact and also try to orient themselves to these things. Whereas in case of 11th and 12th students, they are completely into it. They know that now the time has approached where they have to clear their board examination and at the same time they have to prepare to crack several competitive examinations also. So, the workload and syllabus obviously outgrow their capacity many times, and of course, this is associated with the fear of failure. So, while they study, constantly they are thinking about what if they could not crack the examination successfully, what will happen, they will not get admission in any good place in any good course, they will not be able to secure seat, what will happen to their future? This fear of failure is very much substantiated by worries about their future, their professional future. They continuously compare themselves with peers in terms of number of studies, number of hours they devote to study. For example, if a student is studying for 4 hours and the friend comes and says that okay, only 4 hours, I usually study for 6 or 7 hours a day, this is going to be a cause of stress for the student. Even a very simple fact that the friend or a classmate has taken 2 sheets in examination while writing their answers and I have taken only 1 can be a cause of stress, because somehow they correlate it with their performance. The other children has written more in response to the questions asked and I have written less. So definitely I will be getting poor grades as compared to the child, to the other child, the classmate or the peer. So such kind of comparisons, which can be sometimes very illogical, but they are definitely there and they build up stress a lot. Then frequent practice tests. Usually the coaching centers, if a student has been enrolled in any coaching center, they usually take weekly tests, and such weekly tests do not give much time of preparation to the students. Plus securing good grades is very important for the student. So this is also a cause of stress in higher secondary or secondary student. Then the school environment also changes drastically. Up to primary education, teachers are usually lenient. They try to create a stimulating and engaging environment in the classroom. They try to engage students in fun activities also, but in secondary or higher secondary years, usually the complete focus shifts to study, study and study. Students also try to refrain from extracurricular activities if they are frequent in numbers, in order to secure more and more time to spend on their study table. So pressure from teachers, limited time is available, the student has to complete the school work as well as the work given by the coaching centers. Overcrowded classrooms is another big issue. Overcrowded classrooms is problematic in 2 ways. The first thing is, once a particular terrain is overcrowded, it creates a kind of psychological experience to the individual which is unpleasant. It's like nobody is getting enough personal space. Sometimes the crowding is so much, especially in coaching centers, that the students need to stand at the back of the class and attend lectures, because there is no check over how many students can be accommodated in one batch. As we have in schools, at least there is a guideline which says that 40:1 should be the ideal teacher taught ratio, but nothing happens in coaching centers. They can accommodate as many students as they can. So overcrowding in itself is a big psychological stressor. Moreover, it doesn't give enough time to any student so that their doubts can be cleared. If there are 60 students and there is a period of 40 minutes in which the teacher has to complete a particular topic and then he or she starts taking doubts from the students, one can understand what would be the scene in that particular classroom. So overcrowding is another big issue. Peer pressure, we have been talking about it, and bullying, of course. This is an age where the child is greatly affected by the peer group standards. The style of dressing, the style of eating, even the style of talking sometimes is influenced by the peers and not by the parents. So peer pressure is a big factor. it becomes even more harmful if the peer starts pushing the child to get engaged in activities which are either unsocial or sometimes antisocial also. For example, one may, encourage the classmate for smoking, for drinking alcohol, or for taking drugs. So such kind of undue pressures from the student is very bad. Again, home environment is important as it was for primary schooling years. Any unpleasant psychosocial situation, including conflicts and quarreling between parents or between grandparents or parents, between siblings, or fights with neighborhood, is a constant source of problem for students. Financial problems which keeps them children access good quality educational resources can be a pressing problem. And then if the parents or the family does not put emphasis on education, on grades, on quality education, it may result in a lack of interest towards education in the child as well. Personal factors increases in their relative importance in causing academic stress during these years. First and perhaps the biggest factor during these years is poor time management. Children cannot learn how to divide time for their studies, for their leisure time activities like play, like reading extra books or taking rest, and for other essential tasks. If they fail to divide their time properly, obviously they would be struggling to meet out expectations in all domains, may it be school, may it be home or anything else. Sometimes they have to compromise their rest hours also in order to complete their pending assignments. So time management must be learned if one wants to accommodate the pressure properly. There may be a lack of interest due to any reason. Maybe the child is not able to keep track with the class teaching. The pace of teaching is much faster as compared to the pace of learning, or there is some problem with the peer group, or maybe the quality of relationship the student has with the teacher is not very good, or the person may suffer from poor sleep schedule. The student gets so much of homework from the school and the coaching centers that he or she is compelled to curtail the hours of sleep, which may build up a continuous strain on the child. Then if the child lacks the organizational skills, it could be another source of stress. Organizational skills means how to keep your important stuffs. If you do not keep your important stuffs organizing, you may have difficult time to find them whenever you need them. Your pen is not there, your copy which you need to write notes is not available, you don't know where the book is kept, your clothes are very untidy because you haven't kept them nicely. So basic organizational skills must be acquired if one wants to avoid undue stress created during the study schedules. And then lack of self-confidence. The person may have ability, but if she or he doesn't realizes his capacities, his or her potential, his abilities, this is going to result in poor self-confidence, which is again a factor causing stress in students. Now these are the stresses which are somehow unique in these years of secondary and higher secondary schooling. Many students move to a new school once they complete their primary education or when they complete the education up to class 10th. So adjusting to the environment of the new school can be a challenge for them, especially if the child is very introvert or reserved. very shy, lacks skills to make new friends, and getting adjusted into a new school environment. If the child resides in an unsafe area, it could be a problem again, because as children grow, they start going to school independently and coming back from there, and if the area, the locality is not safe, it could be a challenge for the child as well as the family to send them off to school. Struggling with self-worth. As we grow, we all start searching for the purpose and meaning of our life. And if we find keyed up on the edge, marginalized by others, we have not been given responsibilities, it may result in a faulty perception of oneself and conclusion that we are not good for anything. This lack of self-worth or self-purpose is a significant stressor in the life of students. This is the period when children enters into adolescence and undergo several bodily transformations suitable for adolescence. Accepting one's physique and being comfortable with such kind of bodily transformation is another challenge for children of this age. During these years, if the child or the adolescent develops an unrealistic goal, an unrealistic expectation, for example, if he or she tries to be perfect in everything he or she does, it may not be a very real goal. Of course, this expectation or this strive for perfection is not bad, but one has to realize that attaining perfection is neither something which can be done so quickly within a day or two, nor it is something achievable all the time in life. So, we all have to accept a standard of perfection which is satisfactory for our own self as well as for the society standards. Then, if somebody develops a long term illness, which is quite common these days, you will be surprised to know that most of the children of this age group suffers from different kind of muscle related problems, for example spondylitis or even pains in different muscle groups, because of our wrong postures, because of spending several hours on mobile phone or different kind of screens. So, somehow if the person has developed a long term illness, even obesity can be a form of illness, then the stress is much more. Now the child has to fight with his or her own bodily condition as well as he or she has to accommodate the educational demands. So, it is like a twofold battle. Worrying too much about the future aspiration can be a significant cause of stress again. As I said earlier also, when the student enters in class 11th or 12th, now the realization that my schooling is going to end very soon, I have to find my way in higher education, I have to secure a seat in a good institution, in a good course, so that I can build up my career, I can achieve high in my life, becomes a big issue for most of the children. And some of them may also suffer from the challenges of social interactions, not understanding how to interact or getting accommodated with elder people or with people younger than us. So, social skills can be a significant source of stress for some children. What are the effects of scholastic stress in students? Of course, we can have physical symptoms, we can have symptoms which are psychological in nature, behavioral symptoms, and the symptoms associated with social and relationship issues. Let us go through them quickly. When it comes to physical health, we can find loss of appetite. The student is not feeling hungry, not ready to eat anything, because most of the time they cannot sense the hunger because of increased level of stress. Then headaches, fatigues, weight loss is a common problem. Altered sleep pattern is again a common problem during these years of schooling. They keep awakened till late night to complete their school assignments, their coaching homeworks, and then when they go to sleep, they want to complete their sleep of 6 or 7 hours. Again, it is not possible because they are supposed to get up early in the morning and get ready for school. So, altered sleep pattern is a problem, and some of them may get trapped in substance abuse also, because of the peer group influence or because of poor neighborhood or because of any other challenge. Besides this, gastrointestinal issues are very common, like feeling nausea, stomach ache, acid reflux, everything is very common. Mental health issues incorporate depression, both non-clinical and clinical in extreme cases. Anxiety characterized by excessive worry and nervousness about scholastic pursuits, poor sleep quality, substance abuse, high stress and burnout. Burnout is something which is very dangerous because it indicates that all resources of coping are now have been used, and then the problem persists. The problem is still not sorted. Behavioral symptom may include procrastination. Procrastination means I know that I have to complete certain work. I know completing the task is very important. I want to complete that work very sincerely, very genuinely, and still what happens that I think that okay, let me finish this work, then I will come back to do this task. Okay, let me finish one more thing, I will be back to the task. Let me finish this, I will be back to the task. We keep on doing this, unknowingly avoiding the important task because we find it difficult or we don't know how to do it or because of any other reason. I am not voluntarily avoiding, but unknowingly I am avoiding that task, and that too in a very genuine manner, at least apparently genuine manner. So, I can argue that okay, I had this emergency, so I delayed the task, then I was busy doing that, again I had something very important, that is why I could not spare time to complete my important assignment. So, this is called procrastination, and ultimately a point arrives when the person is left with no choice except doing the task immediately. So, at the 11th hour when we start doing that task, it becomes much more difficult because we do not have time for consultation with to consult it with other people, or we do not have time to plan about it much, we do not have time to review the things that have been done or how we can do it in a better manner. So, procrastination is a big problem in this age group. Then it is difficult to concentrate for people who suffer from stress. Our span of attention has gone very low due to our on-screen habits also. Most of us like to watch short videos which appear one after the other. Each not each of duration 1 or 2 minutes. So, it gives our brain a habit to keep switching the attention to a new thing in every 2 minutes, which ultimately results in poor sustained attention, which is a basic requirement for successful academic journey. If we are not able to focus our attention for 30 to 40 minutes at least, we won't be able to grasp anything from our classroom because we would be thinking about so many things in our mind. Difficulty in memory, that is forgetfulness, has been increased a lot. Social withdrawal, children want to spend more and more time with the screen, not with people around them. Restlessness is there, they frequently report a kind of restlessness. They want to do something but they do not know what to do. They do not know what they are actually worrying about, but they are restless all the time. Negative self-talks which are usually pessimistic, I won't be able to do it, I won't be able to crack the examination, I won't be able to achieve anything in my life whereas all others will do. These kind of negative self-talks are very common. Overly competitive behavior, if I think I won't be able to do it, two things can happen: either I can give it up, or I will try to be much more competitive, I will try to pull everybody back, I will try to outperform all others whosoever are present in my classroom or in my family who are at the same level of schooling. So, an overly competitive behavior which gives rise to undue stress is also common. Fear of failure is there, and of course, there is an additional problem associated with this age group. If there is a fear of failure, or if someone fails actually in the examination, suicidal ideation and sometimes committing suicide is also common. Then there are a lot of problems related with the social aspect of life, right from rule breaking at home and in school. Not necessarily the rules are bad, just because the child or the adolescent find it good to break the rule. It gives him or her a sense of achievement, a sense of empowerment, that I can break the rule, whatever rule I want and at any time. More punishments in school, if the student is being punished for each and every reason, it becomes a kind of negative social impact in his mind. Frequent conflict with parents regarding poor academic performance, regarding not spending too much time over studies and other things can again be a problem. Trying new adventures, sometimes the adventures are so risky that the child enters into some kind of problem. Like we have witnessed so many incidences of accidents while taking selfies in unsafe places, or getting indulged in substance abuse or the habit of smoking or drinking because of simply an a wish to try something new, a wish to try something which is usually used by elder people. If I do something which is done by an elder person, it will give me a feel of grown up, So, trying new adventures sometimes can be very risky. This is associated with deviant behavior, a behavior which is not in compliance with the social expectation. Strained peer relationships can be there, and everything ultimately results in social isolation. So, these were the problems that one faces. Coming to the treatment of these problems, how to handle these problems so that the level of stress can be reduced significantly. The first and the foremost step here is again time management that we have been talking about. Managing time for studies, for recreational activities and for stress is and for rest is very important for students. At the same time, mindfulness techniques and training and relaxation training is of immense usefulness for students suffering from such kind of problems. Having enough physical activities can keep them active, and their mind also become active when they indulge in some kind of physical activity. Maintaining healthy lifestyle is important. If someone is habitual to consume high calorie food, it may lead to obesity and many allied diseases, adding complexity to the life of students. Social support settings are important, and equally important is to keep the goals and ambitions realistic. Developing hobbies and pursuing leisure activities are very important for freshening up the mind. After a healthy refreshment, a healthy recreation, the person is able to concentrate better on the academic task. If these management techniques are not working effectively or the level of stress is really insurmountable, one should not hesitate to ask for professional help. One must contact the school counselor. If not available, one should talk to the parents and try to get in touch with some other professional counselor or therapist available nearby. Attending stress management training and workshops can be important and useful also. Such workshops are organized online also, so there is no issue of traveling and going to each place physically. One can also create supportive environment for oneself by adding students or peers of similar attitude, similar age and studying in similar school grades. Positive self-talk means reframing the negative self-talk into a positive one is important again. How is it done? Instead of thinking I will never be able to do it, it is so difficult, I can think that okay, it is difficult to do at once, but if I break it into smaller pieces, I will be able to achieve those goals one by one. Or there is enough time, if I start working right now, I will be able to complete the assignment in time. So replacing the negative self-talks with positive ones is important. Digital detox is something of immense use for this age group. If the child or the adolescent spends a lot of time on mobile phone, on video games or on social media, this is going to be addictive and consumes much of their productive time, leaving no time or very less time behind for completion of important educational assignments. Therefore, keeping the mobile phones off while studying is may be useful for children who suffer from such kind of problems. Pranayam or breathing exercises is another way to relax and detox the body and mind so that one is better able to manage the stress. So, this was all about the presentation and we learned what scholastic stress is. We also learned various causes of scholastic stress including academic pressure, school environment, home environment and personal characteristics. We talked about the symptoms of scholastic stress which manifest themselves through body, mind, behavior and social relationship of students. And finally, we learn about useful techniques of managing scholastic stress for students of secondary and higher secondary education. These are the recommended readings for you. You can learn more and more about these topics and you can also get familiar with recent researches in these areas by going through these references. Some more references are here. Thank you for your patient listening.